Let me know if this sounds familiar to you, because I'm sure it is, we've all been there. You go on the golf course and you absolutely rip the irons, but you really struggle with the driver. And then the next time you play, it's the complete opposite. You're absolutely ripping the driver, you can't miss, and the irons just aren't there that day. But in this video, I'm going to show you how you can fix that, how you can make sure that your performance is as good as it can be with irons and driver. And the way we do this might surprise you a little bit. So let's start with the iron, and then we'll move on to the driver. For the purpose of this video, this is to do with actually where you put your focus. And you could even think of this as where you actually look relative to the ball. It would make a lot of sense that, you know, whether it be iron or driver, we set up and we look at the golf ball. But that can often hold so many golfers back, and I've seen some great results with the students that I've worked with, getting them to look places other than the golf ball. So why is this important? Well, when we look at the golf club and how it moves around your body, we know that that golf club effectively moves on this big circle. And great golfers position their circle differently relative to the golf ball for the driver and the irons. So when I'm hitting an iron, I've got myself a 7-iron here. At impact, and this is the key thing about this video, it's all about impact and achieving that perfect impact. My circle needs to be, the bottom of my circle I should say, needs to be in front of the golf ball and underground. Now if you can do that, you're going to get ball turf contact. That's why we see the great players taking divots. You know, they all, pretty much all of them, hit the golf ball and then the club goes into the ground. So they go ball, club then goes down into the ground, they take that divot. And what that does, it enables them to hit higher in the face. It enables them to deloft the club a little bit, get more compression on the golf ball, achieve a more efficient ball flight with more distance. It's also more consistent as well. But with the driver, we don't want that. So when I take a setup with my 7-iron, if I'm looking at the golf ball, that's my attention, that's my focus, then very often what can happen is the bottom of the circle sort of sits on the ground and it's where the ball is. And if I do that now, then we can sort of get shots like that where I feel a little bit like I'm stuck on my back leg. It actually wasn't a bad contact, but there was certainly no divot, and the ball flight was really quite high, quite weak, and I didn't really get the most efficiency out of that. So what about if we change our focus and we put it in front of the golf ball and we actually think about a spot underground? So as I set myself up to this, I'm going to be thinking about a point, probably a club head width in front of my ball and underground. What this will do to you is it will get your arms far more extended past the golf ball. We always see great players with that position. We see the elbows nice and close, and we generally would see the lead arm and the club forming a straight line post impact. Now let me go ahead and hit one, and I'm going to give you a really simple drill to help you get the timing of when this all should happen. Okay, there's the contact I want. Compared to that first shot I hit, ball flight was much better. I've landed the club, target side of the ball, everything felt as I wanted it, the strike was as I wanted it to. Try it. I think you'll be really surprised at how quickly you can start to change your ball striking, how quickly you start to see the results. And it's something that you can absolutely take on the golf course the next time you play. So here's that little drill I spoke about, which is going to give you a real good idea for the timing of this. Take your setup. 7-iron is absolutely perfect. Grip the golf club, but grip it right down the end of the club shaft. So I'm right near the hosel. That grip is going to go up to the left-hand side of your body, and you're going to make some little backswings. And what you're looking for here is to have the grip or the club shaft, whichever is going to make contact with your side, to contact your side after the club has gone past the ball. So as I look at this now, my club head is past the ball and this made contact with my side. Many of you will find that when you do that little exercise, maybe it's because you're a little bit static in your body, maybe it's because you leave a little bit of weight on that back leg, but you'll find that it will contact you here before the club head is past the ball. This would indicate to me that my release is a little bit soon. It would indicate that I'm not really moving my body as well as I could. As I said in this video, the easiest way to change that, and very often the quickest way to change that, is just change where your focus is. You know, if your focus is this side of the ball, you're never going to be throwing that club out here. You're going to be shifting more, holding longer, and making all of this contact you much, much later. And then what you can do is you can go ahead and do a couple of little rehearsals with that same feeling, and imagine that that grip would hit you much, much later. So with the irons, don't look at the golf ball, look target side. So, driver. If you do the same thing with the driver, let me show you what would happen. Well, that's not going to get it done. In fact, if you come a little closer, I don't know if you can see this, there is a divot mark here. There was a little divot mark there. My ball has come off the tee, hit that little divot, okay, because I tried to do the same thing with the driver that I did with an iron. That is not the way to get it done. So if you start to do the same thing, you're going to hit super low drives like that really don't give you great results, or you might even actually catch a couple off the top edge of your golf club. And I'm sure many of you, if you have a look at your drive, you'll have some kind of scuff marks where the face meets the crown, and those ones go super high. So what do you do with the driver? Well, let's think about that circle. That circle with an iron, we said at impact, wanted to be target side and underground. We definitely don't want that with a driver. We want that circle to be above ground and actually behind the golf ball. So the lowest part of my circle happens pre-impact. If that happens, then the golf club, as it makes contact with the ball, is starting to move away from the ground. We would call that an upward hit. And if we're looking to get that upward hit, that's why it's so important that we get the ball teed the correct height. If you get it teed super low, the chances are you're not going to be able to do this with a huge amount of success. So I've got my ball teed nice and high. I'm going to take my normal setup where my ball is opposite my front heel. And I actually want my focus now to be behind the golf ball. And I would say probably the width of my driver head. So where the trailing edge of my driver is, that's where I would want my focus to be. Now, to make this a little easier, I find it's often advisable to start with the club in that position. So you actually take a setup and you use your shoulders and your upper body to set the club some 6 to 8 inches behind the golf ball. Now, if you watch a lot of golf, if you pay attention to social media, you may know of a player who actually does this. He's actually pretty good as well, Jon Rahm. Jon Rahm does this with his driver when he wants to hit high draws. Many of the drives that Rahm hits are fades. And you can hit a fade with the ball fairly low on the tee. But if you want to hit high draw, and this is really where we need to get most golfers working towards, we've got to get that low point behind the ball. So what Jon Rahm does when he wants to hit that high draw, he takes his setup and he starts with his club 6 inches behind the ball. That's really what I'm advising you to do here. However, it's not just a case of setting the club behind the ball. You actually have to be looking at the ground 6 inches behind the ball and trying to get your golf club to have its lowest part of its swing there and then move up through impact. Now, mentally, this is quite difficult because you'd think you're just going to look at the ball. You know, that makes sense, doesn't it? All the shots you're going to hit, you're going to look at the ball. So try at the drive range first. You can take it to the course, but what you might find is that you look 6 inches behind the ball and then sort of end of the backswing into your downswing, you glance back at the ball and it kind of can throw you out a little bit. So it does take a little bit of practice and it just takes a bit of commitment. But trust me, if you can do this with irons and driver, I think you're going to get some pretty spectacular results. Exactly what I called. I've actually slightly overdrawn it. That should be left rough, but it's par 5. I'm going to take that. I've still got a chance at the green. So, if you want to improve your ball striking, don't actually look at the golf ball. Look in front with the irons, behind with the driver.